Hi, I'm Joe from As the Joe Flies,
And I'm Leslie from Trips with Tykes.
and welcome back to Disney Deciphered. So, on today's episode, we're going to have a little bit of fun, but before we do that, we want to thank our newest Patreon subscriber, Leslie P. Thank you so much for subscribing and supporting the podcast. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to check us out on Patreon, you can find us patreon.com/Disney Deciphered, where paid subscribers receive ad-free episodes, bonus content, lots of fun stuff, access to our Facebook group for life. Leslie, it is your idea that we are borrowing from another podcast. So why don't you tell us what fun activity we're going to be having today?
All right, so today we are going to be making our predictions as to what Disney World is going to be like in 15 years. And yes, I borrowed this idea from the Mix in Some Magic podcast, which is a Disneyland podcast, and they actually did it on a 25-year timeline. And you and I talked about it, and we thought, oh, 25 years, the world's going to be so different. Let's reel it in a little bit closer. We were going to talk about doing 10 years, but we kind of know some of the 10-year timeline right now, just given how long it takes for things to be constructed at Disney World. So we pushed it out a little bit. So 15 years seems far enough out, but also seems terrifying in a way because I will be in my 60s in 15 years, and I do not like that at all, Joe.
Yeah, unsubscribe to that for sure. I feel the exact same way. AARP kicks in at 55, although in some of the circles we run in, we are well aware of the fact that you can get an RP card long before you turn 55. Okay, so let's start with talking about what we do know is coming in the next 5 to 10 years. Animal Kingdom, we actually just this week got the announcement that Dinosaur is closing in February 2026. Zootopia is opening in November. That's what replacing the Bugs Life thing. See, I've already stricken the name of the attraction from my head because it's tough to be a bug.
Drama.
It's tough to be a bug, yes. So we know that Animal Kingdom Tropical Americas is coming and that's going to replace Dino Land. What do we have that we know is coming the next 5 to 10 years, Magic Kingdom, Leslie?
So RIP Rivers of America, we know that we're going to get the Cars Land themed Piston Peak in Magic Kingdom. And then we think we know we're going to get Villains Land beyond that. But again, is the farther out the timeline is for Disney World, the less chance it has to necessarily come to fruition, like that Mary Poppins ride we were supposed to get in Epcot that is DOA. So we hope we'll get Villains Land. And there's sort of a lot of other things rumored and talked about, but those are the three, I'd say, biggest projects that we know are coming. And anything else I'm forgetting? I mean, Epcot's kind of set for right now, and Hollywood Studios. We know we're getting the Monsters Inc. coaster, and we're getting the retheme sooner rather than later of Rock and Roller Coaster. But no big expansion beyond that in Hollywood Studios that I think is for sure, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So that's what we know for sure, sort of, in the next 5 to 10 years. I think the next thing that'll happen in the next 5 to 10 years is Bob Iger will retire, maybe for real this time, and there'll be a new Disney CEO. I think he's purportedly, I'm sorry, Leslie, I gotta say this because this news just broke. It has nothing to do with Disney, but this news just broke right before we got on. Bob Iger's wife, Willow Bay, bought a large part of Angel City FC's soccer team, and they just sold their best player for not enough money to England, to Chelsea in England. So I think, Bob, you need to make sure you're doing good business. People are saying, why do you have this Disney money if you're not using it as FU money? Anyway, that's a little soccer commentary aside, but Bob's got to focus on other things. So he's going to retire. The question is, who's going to replace him as CEO? Obviously, Josh D'Amaro is on the list. I don't actually know who else it could possibly be, but I'm sure there are other candidates that we don't know about.
Yeah, I guess I heard that there was possibly an entertainment candidate, but the sort of thinking is that she's too far behind the pipeline. Like she might be post Tomorrow if Tomorrow is the next person picked. So, I mean, there's always the chance they come in, bring in somebody from the outside or dark horses or whatever. But I mean, I do think the conventional wisdom is that Tomorrow is going to be the CEO. And it does seem that the company itself is very parks focused right now in this moment. And he, of course, is a parks guy. So I have to say, like, I think it's going to be Tomorrow. I don't think necessarily he will be the leader 15 years from now. So I guess my money's on maybe the next generation beyond him in 15 years, but whoever, of course, is in charge for the next 15 years, next 10 years, whatever, will be directing a lot of what's in the pipeline for our timeline. So I do think it is going to be tomorrow. I mean, everybody likes him, but they're also frustrated at the cost cutting of the parks. But I think there has been a lesson learned about that right now. So I do think there's going to be more investment in the parks. So I'm cautiously optimistic about that choice and what it means for Walt Disney World and what it's going to look like down the line.
You say lesson learned, but Disney Dish just talked about how a listener posted, did the math on the Disneyland early entry hotels being cut, and apparently occupancy has to drop by 15% for Disney to lose money on that. So we will see. Just if you can indulge me, one more sports analogy, Leslie, I think of Disney CEOs like I think of NFL draft picks. I have no idea who they are, and I'm not going to pretend who they are before they get drafted. But as soon as they get drafted by the Jets, I know they're going to suck. So we'll just go with that and
Oh my goodness.
move on. Life of a Jets fan. It is tough out here. No more sports analogies for the rest of the episode, I promise. So let's get to looking 15 years out from now. And let's start with the stuff we love the most, which are the parks, and more importantly, the attractions in the parks. We've talked about what Disney has already announced. I want to start by asking Leslie, do you think in the next 15 years we will have a fifth gate at Walt Disney World in Florida? There's no way it'll be done in 15 years. I mean, it would be amazing, but I don't think it'd be done in 15 years. But at the very least, will there be an announcement? Will ground have been broken on a new park within the next 15 years?
So I'm really curious as to what you're going to predict, but my prediction is no. I think we're going to get a third gate at Disneyland in some way, shape, or form. I do not think we will get a fifth at Disney World. And the reality is that's because there's room to grow the parks as they exist now. And some of those parks are still not full day parks. They need to build those out more. I mean, obviously they're going to be building out Magic Kingdom the most, which makes the most sense. I mean, everybody wants to go to that one, and increasing the capacity there is smart. But I can't see 5 parks making financial sense operationally, especially right now, at this moment. We think Disney demand is kind of soft. And yeah, so I think they're going to invest in the 4 that they have, and then just sort of the surrounding resort, right? I think they're going to build hotels and maybe expand, downtown Disney, or shore up the water parks, things like that. But I think it's going to be infill as opposed to expansion. So what do you say, Joe?
First of all, I'm pretty sure they're going to ignore the water parks that they've been doing for the last 20 years.
Okay, fair.
So we'll see. We'll see about that. But yeah, I want to say that I guess the kid in me wants them to open a 5th park, but it's like, and you're just going to have to forgive me. School just started this week. It's Analogy Central here in Mr. Chang's class. It's like, we're thinking about doing a house renovation. We cannot build an extension to this house until we fully utilized the space that we have now. So we need to work on what's inside our house right now. And I feel like Walt Disney World is in the same situation. Like you said, they haven't maximized, Animal Kingdom. They tried to make it a nighttime park and failed, which is such a waste of the beautiful lighting package in Pandora. So there's just a lot that Disney still needs to do to make use of what they have. I'm not sure, I never 100% pay attention to the expansion pad situation, but it just feels like, just in terms of the optics of it, you do not feel like you have 4 full parks. How can you open a 5th park when you haven't even saturated the 4 parks you have? I mean, you and I, we were, and we can post this somewhere. Leslie sent me a ad from Epcot in the 1990s, which was amazing. It was like an 8 to 10 minute video. It was lovely, just to go back to my childhood. And I was thinking about the Wonders of Life Pavilion. Like, that building is still there. So, I don't know if they, and you can see it there when you go to Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. And it's just like, this is just wasted space in Epcot. And I'm sure Magic Kingdom is probably going to be maxed out after Villains Land, because they're building like beyond Big Thunder. But there's just a lot of room to grow. And I feel like hopefully in 15 years, we are maxed out then. And then at that point, we can start talking about whether we'll be visiting a fifth gate when we're in our 70s, Leslie, not our 60s.
Please, before I leave this earth, I would like to see a fifth gate, but I don't think it's going to be in the shorter term. So if we think they're going to infill and do the work on the existing parks that they have, let's talk about what we think the major expansions there are going to be. Like what IPs are going to be featured, what parks are going to get the most attention beyond what we already know, Joe. So I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, and let's start with the fact that you and I think it's got to be IP, right? It's 2025.
Yeah.
It's got to be something with IP. I feel like Pixar's underrepresented in Walt Disney World. There's Toy Story Land, but I feel that's a place that they can go. Marvel, I don't know, 10 years ago I would have said they would never, like Universal would never change their deal. Maybe they still won't because maybe it's too much easy money for them. But you could see a world where you use I don't know if Universal has Fantastic Four, for example. So if Fantastic Four that just came out this year, if that becomes a big franchise, maybe you do something with that. But they're building off the Pixar with Monsters Inc. so they can keep doing that. And I feel like that's the IP, unless there's something that, we don't, I don't know. I guess this is for the entertainment side of Disney. Can you come up with new IP? And maybe there will be something big. 15-year time frame, you could have your next Frozen. And you could imagine that we don't even know what IP they'll be yet. But if they have their next Frozen, we'll definitely see some kind of attraction based on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's more in Pixar that they're going to take advantage of. I think possibly Coco could be, depending upon how Coco 2 does, because I definitely already see it taking over Disneyland, and that obviously makes sense just given the cultural connections in California, but makes sense in Florida too. And so I think that could be the genesis of a new land somewhere. So we'll see about that. I'm going to go bold a little bit here too. I think that Disney and Universal will make a deal in some way, shape, or form that brings more Marvel to Florida. I don't know if it'll be all of it. I don't know, if they'll give up certain things like Spider-Man, but I think there's definitely going to be more Marvel in Florida in the long term. Obviously there's certain Marvel they can do because it's not part of the deal, but that's why we got Guardians. But I think that will be something about the current regime will change in terms of a deal there. But yeah, I also agree 15 years is a long timeline. And I think it's very, very possible that a new IP that is in development right now, or not even in development right now, will appear in the parks in 15 years. So stay tuned. But you're right. It's going to be IP. It's all going to be IP. So
Gotta be IP.
Yeah.
It's gotta be IP. With the 15-year time frame, we'll see how this new batch of Star Wars movies does. I'm not sure. The fandom might be too toxic at this point, and that's a done deal. The crazy fandom might be too toxic. The general fandom, I think, is still pretty excited about things. They always said there's a third expansion pad. There's a third expansion pad in Galaxy's Edge. So with a 15-year time frame, you could see Galaxy's Edge expanding to a third attraction, which would be pretty great to see. I think one thing to wonder about is whether these attractions are going to be indoors. I feel like it would be the smart thing to do. Epic has had all sorts of operational issues since I went in May, attractions shutting down. And we already said in May that if it's pouring, you can only ride 3 attractions or whatever. And I think that combined with general first year park issues has made it tough for Epic this summer, even though it's still really amazing and people really appreciate it. I feel like Disney can learn some lessons from that, keep stuff inside. They did that with Guardians, which has really helped with Epcot. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree there. And I think they're going to learn some lessons as they develop this park in Abu Dhabi, because I have a feeling a lot of that is going to have to be indoors just because of the climate. And hopefully we do get to borrow some of that development in the U.S. parks, especially in Florida. But yeah, it's great that they can operate Guardians 24/7, or not 24/7, but you know what I mean. But there is that, like you say, that Wonders of Life pavilion. The building's already been built, Joe. Just put a ride inside of it.
There's got to be a lot of dust in there.
Asbestos? Is it that old?
Yeah, bring back Body Wars, you cowards.
Yeah.
That's all we got to say. Bring back Body Wars, you cowards. I think the last thing to discuss is what attractions might be on the chopping block. Carousel of Progress safe for another 5 years apparently, because they're going to add a Walt Disney the guy animatronic there. So I guess Carousel of Progress, we're keeping that safe for a while. I feel like most of Tomorrowland is pretty safe. But any attractions that come to mind? Oh, what are you thinking? You made a face. Tomorrowland Speedway? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, please eliminate Tomorrowland Speedway. I will be
This
great.
isn't a wish list, Leslie. This isn't a wish list. We're trying to operate in some semblance of reality.
I know. Well, I'm really glad actually that Carousel of Progress is safe. You got to keep some of that old school Disney. I just have to think Tomorrowland Speedway, at the very least, I mean, it's going to get a complete redo with like electric cars and all sorts of futuristic kind of stuff. So maybe it will be a different ride, but it's not. It cannot be what it is. There's just no way in 15 years from now. So we shall see.
I think, yeah, and I think it would, wow, the internet would burn down, but Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, Tiki Room, Aladdin's Magic Carpets, that area in Adventureland, like you could imagine them doing a lot with that space, not touching Jungle Cruise and not touching Pirates, but I think, maybe even rerouting Jungle Cruise a little bit. So I think that might be something that might be a little bit at risk. The Imagination Pavilion, unless they it's either going to be gone or they will finally update Journey into Imagination to version 4.0 or whatever. I feel like that's a pretty safe bet. Animal Kingdom probably will be okay 15 years from now, since like all the major announcements have been done. And Hollywood Studios, I can't imagine what they'd get rid of, since they saved Rock and Roller Coaster and they RIP got rid of Muppet Vision 3D. But I don't know if anything comes to mind for you for Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, we already know that Launch Bay is going away, but of course we kind of have known that all the time, that its days were going to be numbered. So yeah, I can't think of anything right now that, I mean, they eliminated everything in the last 10 years at Hollywood Studios. So that's one thing I do want to backtrack though, Joe, on the expansions, because there's one thing I forgot to mention that I do think we are going to get in 15 years from now, and that is another country or two in Epcot. And that, I mean, that's a long time coming. They need more ride capacity in that section of Epcot. So I think it would make sense to add a country with some sort of a dark ride potentially. That's my other bold prediction for expansion.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. Also, we don't need the corn on the cob in the, that section over there where they sell the corn on the cob and you get to play the drums. Like, we don't need that. So yeah, we can build a new pavilion there. That would be amazing. If we got another pavilion, that would be really cool. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about other non-park related stuff at Walt Disney World and see what we think might be coming in 15 years. All right, let's talk about hotels, Leslie. I think that obviously they're going to be new hotels. I think the question is, how many new hotels do you think they're going to be? I feel like they build one every 2 to 3 years at this point. So in 15 years, like 5, 6, 7 is a good bet. What do you think?
I think it's going to slow down a little bit. I think what Disney is going to do is what they just did at the Polynesian, which is infill existing properties, build a new tower, a new building to what they already have, as opposed to completely starting brand new in new locations. Because then as soon as you add new locations, you're having to add all the infrastructure that goes along with that. It's probably a lot easier to build a new tower or some cabins or something like that, which they've done a lot in recent years. But I do think we will get some new hotels. I'm maybe a little less bullish on the number, maybe more like 4, 5, something like that would be my prediction in the next 15 years. So the big question for me is whether DVC is going to evolve or change or die down, because I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the numbers lately. Aulani has still not sold out of DVC. Now that's a unique situation, but I think Riviera is still for sale. Poly, I'm sure, is still for sale. So will we ever reach saturation of demand there? And then of course they're decreasing the benefits and like putting more restrictions on DVC. So is that going to change the landscape of what's built?
I think the stuff that is for sale is partially Disney rebuying contracts that people try to sell. I feel like DVC is in a weird spot because the huge Disney fans, out of big Disney fans, a significant portion of them are going to consider actually buying DVC. I think that, there's a New York Times article that came out about how looking at Disney, basically the middle class doesn't exist anymore, or kind of saying that Disney is really catering towards not upper middle class at the lowest these days, just with all the paying for Lightning Lane. I wonder if, timeshares in general, that's like a very middle class idea because, you're saving money by going regularly and by committing to this thing that you love. Well, as Disney caters more and more to richer and richer people, maybe they don't need that anymore. Maybe, like they'll pay $1,200 to stay at the Poly, or in 15 years. Oh my gosh, 15 years. What's your prediction for resort view room at the Poly? Like $1,800 a
over
night?
2000 over 2000 a night.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but maybe they'll have people, paying that. And then at that point, DVC becomes less popular. So I do think DVC will slow down, but I think there'll always be a market for it because there are always Disney fans. And I mean, we've seen that Disney has been able to cut the benefits and still have people be loyal to it and be addicted to getting DVC points. Mike T, yes, that's a shout out to you and a subtweet of you. I know you're listening.
Okay, so the other elephant in the room, Joe, are we ever going to get anything like Galactic Starcruiser ever again? Or was that a one and done and Disney will never innovate in that way ever?
Yeah, I think it's really tricky. I mean, we talked about catering to richer clients, and the Galactic Starcruiser was such a high price tag that the marketing was such a fail that you never were able to find out whether people would scrimp and save for it, or the people who less of an issue, the price tag was less of an issue, like they didn't get to hear about it or know what it was. I will say that within the next 15 years, we will definitely see Galactic Starcruiser type tech enter things. I mean, things are just going to have to become more interactive. People have no attention spans anymore. So, there have to be these kind of interactive things to do. We saw Disney try and not do the best job of it with, the Bounty Hunters game that you can use with your Magic Band Plus. But then we've seen Super Nintendo World do a better job with that at Universal Studios, both in Hollywood and at Epic and in Japan. So I feel like things are going to become more entertainment and attractions type situation. Whether we'll see a hotel or an actual thing, I feel like a super themed escape room type situation, 3 hours, I could see that happening, or maybe even half a day.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to be mixed in with a hotel ever again, but I do think there are going to be lessons that are taken from that and incorporated in what we get 15 years from now. All right, Joe, let's turn to transportation. I know this is kind of fun for you, given your son's obsession with all things that move. So do you have any predictions for how transportation is going to change in 15 years?
I mean, the smoke is there, so I hope the fire is behind it, that we're going to get a second Skyliner line. It's so popular, and it would make, I mean, the rumors are that we'll have a second Skyliner line. I can enunciate that will go to Animal Kingdom Lodge. I mean, think about how much more popular Animal Kingdom Lodge will be, because it's an amazing resort, but it is, I was talking to a client about this the other day, and they were like, oh, we want to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, but do you think they'll release a discount for it later? Because we want to wait to see if there's a discount. And I was like, if Disney releases a discount, Animal Kingdom Lodge will be on there every single time. Always rooms for Animal Kingdom Lodge on discounts. And it's like the last one to go. So it's a deluxe resort, has deluxe benefits, amazing resort, but it's just too far out there for everyone. If you have a Skyliner, that changes everything. So I definitely think we'll see a second Skyliner, and super excited to see that. In fact, I'll be very disappointed. Now, I know you're all Waymo pilled now because you rode one in San Francisco that one time. So Waymo minivans, what do you think?
I think we're going to get some driverless vehicles in the next 15 years. I mean, Walt Disney World is the perfect place for it, right? It's sort of a contained bubble, futuristic city. I mean, Walt would have wanted this technology. I think if there's ever a prediction, like, I think he would have been excited about it.
And we can add the inductive charging in the roads. We're going to talk about that every single episode for like the rest of the year.
For sure. So I do think we're going to get some driverless vehicles. I mean, this also allows people to customize where they're going without having to stop and change. And, maybe we get to the point where we have driverless buses or something like that. So I think there's going to be a lot of innovation around this. I wrote down in our notes Waymo minivans, but I think a lot of people do like the cast member interaction in those minivans. So I can see like perhaps like a guide staying along just to talk to people and give people the VIP experience. So yeah, I don't want to put those cast members out of business because I do love those. I love all the cast members, but I love those cast members especially.
Yeah, I don't want to put the bus drivers out of business either, but I almost wonder if it's more likely if the tech gets there, it's more likely for the buses to go driverless because you don't have that same interaction. I agree with you. When I pay for a minivan, it's not only the convenience, but it's also like the service that I get. Obviously, a robot isn't going to be able to give you that kind of service. And so I could see buses becoming driverless again, as long as the tech is there before minivans, or even if they did driverless minivans, I feel like it would have to be some sort of hybrid situation where there's a bunch of cast members still driving because I mean, that's part of the experience. Like you get to choose the music and all that. So that's fun. Our dystopian future is coming for us. I'm just kidding, but we fear change. Train from MCO. I feel like Disney would be smart to make that happen. It's not just Disney's decision there, but I think it was a real negative for Disney that they didn't get the Bright Line to come through from MCO. It would also solve a lot of the complaints that people have about Magical Express not existing anymore. So what do you think? Maybe we get this train in the next 15 years?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty decent possibility that this gets revisited, especially just as interest in train travel continues to pop back up again. And if Disney has a more robust fixed transportation network like Skyliners, maybe connecting Disney Springs or something like that, then it would make more sense for people to be able to rail from Orlando Airport and then they could use that transit to get to their hotels potentially. So I give this better than a 50-50 shot.
All right, so let's get to some of the fun stuff. Lightning lanes. What is going to happen to lightning lanes? I think you put a good note in here. Disney is going to use AI somehow. Maybe not on the front end, but definitely on the back end to make sure they get as much money out of us. I mean, let's be clear. AI is just what people have been calling machine learning for a long time. So I'm sure Disney has been using machine learning for a while to optimize lightning lane. That has to be how they set the prices for lightning lanes. But what do you think we will see change? There's no way. FastPass lasted a good 15 years or so. I do not think Lightning Lane Multipass is going to be here 15 years from now. It's going to be some new system.
Yeah, it's going to be something totally different. And I do think Disney is going to better use the data that it has. It has so much data, and I still feel like it's not using a lot of it very intelligently right now. So it's going to get better because there is money to be made. There are pricing tiers to be teased out. There are ways to get more money out of your higher end guests. And they kind of have already been doing that in some ways by having these, think about the Lightning Lane Premier Pass, the infill between the multi-pass, the single pass, and then the VIP tour. So they're going to be creating these pricing tiers using the data for sure. So I think they're going to be more sophisticated queuing systems. I do think that it's still going to be a pay to play in some way, shape, or form. And hopefully Disney can use the data to make the experience of standing in lines better for all guests, even those who aren't paying top dollar, like just making the whole system more efficient operationally. But this is when we need to have Lynn Testa on because I'm sure he has some great ideas about what could be done because he, in some ways, I feel like has better data on Disney than Disney does, or at least he uses it better.
I wonder if they bring virtual queues back, but in a more functional way. I just feel like on paper, virtual queues made so much sense, but in practice, because everyone was like scrambling for them at 7 a.m. or whatever, that's not the way to go. Although, I don't even know because I think Volcano Bay just got rid of their Tapu Tapu situation where it's like you get in line and then you wait. So I always felt like it made sense to be in some kind of virtual queue so that you can go shopping or eat. But it does feel like the theme park industry is swinging away from that. So maybe, maybe that makes a comeback and they actually figure it out and get it right this time. Or maybe that, maybe that goes the way of 3D TVs, which I hate that people ever tried to make me buy one. Thanks for nothing.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about other operational stuff. Like the one thing on my wish list that I do think we will get is some sort of like drone or robot food delivery, like to your hotel room. There is no reason, like when I stayed at Caribbean Beach the last time in one of the farther out buildings, that I need to walk all the way across the bridge to pick up my quick service food. Like a little robot should be able to bring that to my room while we take an afternoon break, right?
Leslie, I just reread and then rewatched Jurassic Park, and I just want to tell you what Ian Malcolm said. Okay, when Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the guests. You are bringing us one step closer to that with your robot drones. But yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. I mean, we already see robot delivery everywhere. I think when people think drones, they think that drones are going to be like dive bombing your food to you. That's not likely. It's probably going to be like on a cart. I mean, a lot of Japanese restaurants, they'll have those little robot machines that will bring you your drink and drop it off at your table. I do feel like we will see that at Disney and really all over the place. I think delivery is going to become that way. Just make sure you don't give these robot drones teeth or anything that they can attack us humans with when they achieve sentience. But I just want to say on record now, if you guys are listening to this, that I, for one, welcome our robot overlords for sure.
Quick plug out there. If anybody has listened to Chiron Beta Prime by Jonathan Colton, if you know Jonathan Colton, Joe, definitely give that a listen. So, Robot Overlords, forever, I guess.
Yeah. And the robot or even human delivery to your room, I feel like I don't even know why people have said this before. Why doesn't Disney deliver your merchandise to your room? They would make so much money because people just don't want to carry their stuff around through an entire park day. So I feel like we can definitely see something like that happening. Okay, Leslie, the cost. We already said that the Poly's going to cost over $2,000 a night in 2040, 15 years from now. Do you think the tickets will reach unsustainable levels? I feel like the prices have leveled out a little bit. That doesn't mean that it hasn't gotten more expensive, but the price jumps seem to have been lower. So it feels like we're hitting the max, but of course there's still inflation and all that to deal with.
Yeah, I don't think we can sustain for 15 straight years the rates of increase we've seen the last, 8, 10 years. I think it's got to slow down. And Disney can only cater to so many upper middle class and upper class until the money runs out, or just those people want to go somewhere else, right? So, and there's a lot of other places to go in the world. So I do think that will slow. I do think, of course, that Disney prices will outpace inflation. So it's going to get expensive, and I do think more and more people are going to get priced out of Disney vacations, unfortunately. That I don't like making that prediction, but that is my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is just the society we live in right now. Everything is getting more and more expensive, and the Disney bean counters have done the math, and they make more money by catering to the top 10% than they do catering to the middle class, which is a shame. We are not ignorant of the fact that you're putting a Walt Disney animatronic into Carousel of Progress while all this is happening. So not the greatest, but I think that's the reality of what it's going to be. I think the other thing you asked is whether annual passes will still exist. I still feel like they will still exist and there'll still be a market for that because Disney can take advantage of guests who want to come regularly. Guests who might come 2 to 3 times a year if an annual pass didn't exist, but would come 6 times a year if it does exist, looking in the mirror, and end up spending more on merch and food and stuff like that, or, just evangelizing to other people about Disney. So I do think annual passes will still exist. They'll keep getting more expensive as well, but even this year we saw that Disney offered a $100 gift card to new annual pass holders. I think that's still going on right now. So I think they can still use that as a solid base for their market and for their money making schemes.
Yeah, I agree. APs will still exist, especially in Florida. I think the one place they could be eliminated is in California. something's going to come there. But Florida, it makes sense. It makes sense to get people in for that extra vacation, a year from out of town. The locals don't overwhelm the parks in Florida like they do in California. So the numbers, I think, make more sense there. So hopefully those will stay and you will still be safe, Joe.
All right, well, those are our predictions. We'd love to hear what you think Disney's going to be like in 15 years in 2040. If you are in the Patreon Facebook group, we'll put a post up and you can put your ideas there. If not, you can email us, disneydeciphered@gmail.com, or find us on social media, Disney Deciphered. For Disney do or don't, I think my Disney don't is don't be toxic about whatever announcements Disney makes in the next 15 years, okay? We just need positivity. Let's be open to what they're going to try, unless it's, feel free to be as negative as you want about Disney further squeezing more and more money out of people. I think we don't need to give them a free pass for that. But in terms of changes like rides, closing down your favorite ride, I will promise you this. Even if they close down People Mover, I will be devastated, but I won't be toxic about it. And that's our Disney don't. Don't be toxic about these changes, even if they take away something you really love. Please don't take away People Mover, though.
All right, put it out there in the universe. Fingers crossed. They saved Carousel of Progress, so there's hope for some old school Disney for sure. So good idea. Let's keep it positive, and hopefully we will still be going to the parks and enjoying them in our 60s.
Yikes. Now, Leslie, I don't know if you will still be writing in 15 years, but as of right now, where can people find, who knows if we're doing this in 15 years?
Yeah, for sure.
But where can people find you on the internet?
Tripswithtykes.com is the blog, at tripswithtykes everywhere on social media. And Joe, where can folks reach you?
At AstroJoeFlies all over social media. Joseph Chung at travelmation.net if you're planning a trip within the next year. I don't know about 15 years from now, but as of right now, you can reach out there if you're looking to plan a trip. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and please do reach out if you have some ideas for us. Other than that, Leslie, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I will see you getting your AARP registration ready. Me too.
Thanks, Joe.